I remember the first time I saw Anthony wrestle. I went in the stands and my son threw down his crutches and he hopped to the middle of the mat. And there's this scrawny little kid, and that's my son, and I was so proud of him, but this woman was laughing, and it broke my heart. I never wanted him to look at himself and say, hey, something's wrong with me, because these people keep looking at me and pointing. But if anybody's known Anthony throughout his whole life, it's that big smile, that great personality, and never letting anything get him down. Even when they'd ask him, what happened to your leg? He's like, I was born that way. Just with confidence, he just says it. I know Anthony made it a point that he wanted to go to Division I school. He had worked really hard with 2 undefeated seasons, 2 state titles. But he wasn't heavily recruited. He knew he had something to prove once again. When he first started, it was like, oh, poor thing, good for him, he's trying, he's got one leg, he's at a disadvantage. And then as he started winning, it was, well, he's got an advantage because he's got all that upper body strength and, people can't get low enough. And I'm like, no, the kid just figured out how to beat you guys.
And it will be a tall task for Anthony Robles, the senior from Mesa, Arizona, 7 minutes away from a national title.
I was scared for him, knowing that it had to be Iowa, knowing that it had to be the former champion.
Look at that. Beautiful technique by Robles.
For anybody to give Anthony any credit, it had to be the best of the best. Anthony had worked really hard, and he'd overcome a lot of stuff. A lot of people not expecting him to do it, people not expecting him to do anything. And for him to take control of that match, that was his defining moment. The pride I feel for him is indescribable. It's an honor to be Anthony's mom.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I'm honored. Well, thank you all so much. I'm truly honored. Thank you for allowing me to be here to celebrate you on your special day and just to have this opportunity to share with you. We're here today to celebrate you. Guys, congratulations, graduates. What an amazing accomplishment today. I got to clap for you guys, man. We're here to celebrate you guys because your amazing accomplishment of earning this degree, it did not come without challenges. And I think that's one thing that we have in common. We've all wrestled with challenges. You see, it can be physical, it can be mental, but there's always something. There's always an opponent that we have to wrestle through. Despite those challenges, there's a word I learned. And I learned that word from my mom. It's unstoppable. And each and every one of you sitting here today is unstoppable because you've overcome so many different challenges in your life. Yet despite those challenges, you're here today. And that's why we celebrate you guys. See, for me, it took me a while to understand what that word unstoppable meant. But luckily, I was blessed with an amazing mom to show me. You see, my mom, when she had me, she was pretty young. My mom was 16 years old. And the crazy thing was that I was born missing my leg, and she didn't expect that. So the day I was born, it was actually a shock to everyone in that room. They literally grabbed me and they rushed me out of the room. My mom had no idea what was going on, so she said she was laying there asking, "Where is my son? I want to see my son." And no one would tell her anything. At a certain point, the head doctor came back into the room and he said, "Your son's going to be okay, but he was born missing his right leg." And as you can imagine, growing up, I noticed that I was different and I struggled with that. Because I didn't understand why people would stare at me, kids and adults. I didn't understand why people felt sorry for me, why they saw me as less than. And I could see it in their eyes. But luckily, I never saw it in my mom's eyes. My mom would always tell me, there's nothing wrong with you. You were made that way for a reason. You just have to wait and see what that reason is. And the best lesson she taught me was to never let my challenge become an excuse. I'm sure as you sit here right now, you can think of plenty of challenges along your journey to get here that could have held you back, that you could have said, I can't do it, made it your excuse. But you didn't. You refused to allow it to be that. And so it was my mom sharing this with me and putting it in my head that I grew up like any normal kid, right? I wanted to play sports, I wanted to be active. So at 14, I decided to try a brand new sport, and I didn't tell my mom that I was interested in this sport. Okay, so I go to practice one day for the first time ever, and my mom, she just thinks I'm at school a little bit longer than usual, just hanging out with some friends. But that day after that practice, I remember just coming home super excited, right? I could not wait to tell my mom about practice that day. And I remember just bursting through the front door. I'm yelling, Mom, Mom, and she's in the living room. So I ran in the living room and I just told her, Mom, I went to wrestling practice and I learned all these cool moves, these throws. This is the funnest thing I ever done. Can you sign me up? So I'm looking at her, right? I'm excited, and my mom is just staring at me wide-eyed. She didn't say a word. I remember she stood up, she grabbed me by my arm and starts dragging me down the hallway. So I'm getting pulled down the hallway. We get to the end of it. She turns and she looks at me. She said, did you see your face? And I was confused, right? So I step into the bathroom. My mom flips the light on. I look at the mirror. My right eye was almost swollen shut. I had a busted lip. There's blood all over my t-shirt. I'm smiling and there's blood on my teeth. And my mom said, that does not look very fun to me. You know, I didn't know what it was. I couldn't explain it in words, but for some reason, I had this calling on my heart. You know, like I was supposed to wrestle, like this was something I was meant to do, and I really wanted to do it. So the rest of that day, I was just trying to convince my mom to let me wrestle. And by the end of the night, she looked at me, she said, okay, if you're sure and if you'll be careful, I'll sign you up. And I went to bed that night, I couldn't even sleep. You know, I'm imagining my wrestling career in front of me, all the medals and the trophies I was gonna get and the matches I would win. And you know, I'm sure you all felt the same way when you started this journey, right? You're excited about going to school, you're excited about getting into class and studying and getting your degree. But the thing is, you know, there's always excitement at the beginning, right? When you set the goal, but then there seems to be the unexpected challenges that pop up that we have to learn how to overcome. And a few of the challenges I had to deal with early on in wrestling. Number one, the lightest weight class in high school wrestling was 103 pounds. Wrestlers have to watch their weight, have to weigh in exactly at their weight class. For me, I never had to worry about that because I'm 14 years old, I'm wrestling the 103-pound weight class. The heaviest I ever got was 90.5 pounds. So my nickname, I don't know if you remember who Steve Urkel is. My nickname was Urkel from my teammates. Even when I got bigger, I used to counter, I'd tell them they're just jealous because I looked like Denzel and they didn't, but it's funny how much we resemble each other, right? Challenge number two, I'd never wrestled before. My coach had never coached someone missing a leg before. It wasn't like I could jump on Google or YouTube and type in one-legged wrestlers and then all these videos could pop up that I could learn from, that I could follow. So we're basically creating a whole new style of wrestling from scratch. And that first year, it did not go well. I grew up in Mesa, Arizona, and I finished dead last at the Mesa City tournament. I just remember being so upset that night. You know, just feeling frustrated, really just feeling defeated. And I sat in my room on my bed and I contemplated quitting. But I'll never forget a moment when a voice popped into my head, and it was my mom's voice. It said, don't ever let your challenge become your excuse. And that night, I wrote down my first goal. I wanted to be a state champion. I wrote it down on this little piece of paper right here. And I said, no matter what, I'm gonna get this. I don't care how long it takes. And there's a saying that my trainer used to tell me. He'd say, if you are unchallenged, then you are unchanged. I know you all went through numerous challenges to get here today, but it changed you. It molded you. It forced you to grow, to become smarter, more efficient, more durable, to level up. And at that point in my life, I started to learn to do the same. Fast forward to my senior year, I'm ready to graduate high school. I'm a two-time high school state champion in Arizona, a high school national champion. Set my sights on NCAA to win an NCAA title. But as life likes to remind us, you know, with every new goal comes a new challenge that we have to wrestle against in order to reach the goal. I wasn't recruited by the college like I expected. Arizona State offered me the opportunity to walk on and earn a position on the team, but it wouldn't be easy. But I believe it's that's what makes the toughest goals the most special to reach, right? It's the prize you pay. It's the price you pay for it. The prize is in direct proportion to the price. The greater the reward you seek, the greater the effort needs to be to achieve it. You're all sitting here today because you were willing to pay that price. You became night owls, you worked harder. You and your family made sacrifices to give you the time needed to pursue your degree, and it was worth it. I'm sure you imagined this day and how good it was gonna feel hundreds of times to walk across the stage and get that degree. And I too imagined my moment, when I would be able to stand on that podium, to wrestle on that championship mat, to win my title. And I had that opportunity. It was my senior year, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 20,000 people in this arena. And I remember I had to wrestle the returning national champion. I was terrified. I remember just running down that red carpet and it felt like my heart was about to explode. And I was shaking and I'm looking all over the place. I'm just overwhelmed. And I didn't have any ounce of confidence in me whatsoever. I remember just hearing the crowd and it was deafening. And as I was about to step out onto the mat, I lock up into one section really quickly. When I do, my heart stops beating so fast. This calmness sets over me, it's quiet. Because I'm looking at my mom. I'm looking at my brothers, my sister, my high school coach. Those are the people I leaned on. Those are the people those were my whys right there. I call them my voices. It was at that moment I believed that I was unstoppable. And I'll never forget, there was 10 seconds left in that match, and I could hear the crowd getting louder and louder, and it got down to 0. And when they see a new national champ, they raised my arm up. I had finally reached that mountaintop. And guys, today, right now, each and every one of you has reached your mountaintop. Today is a day for you to celebrate all your hard work and remember all of the challenges that you wrestled through to get here. But if I could give you one piece of advice, remember your voices in the crowd. The people that are here today, your loved ones, your family, your friends, teachers, coworkers, faculty, because while you celebrate today, tomorrow is a new day. And I just want to ask you, what's next? What goal will you choose to pursue? What mountain will you choose to climb? What will you have down written on a piece of paper? Remember what got you here today. Remember your voices in the crowd as you prepare to wrestle through the challenge that awaits you. But above everything else, remember that you are unstoppable. In closing, I'd love to leave you with a poem. This poem is called Unstoppable, and it reminds me as I'm wrestling through my daily challenges what unstoppable means. So hopefully it'll motivate you and remind you that you're unstoppable. Every soul who comes to earth with a leg or two at birth must wrestle their opponent knowing it's not what is, it's what can be that measures worth. Make it hard, just make it possible. And through pain, I won't complain. My spirit is unconquerable. Fearless, I will face each foe, for I know I am capable. I don't care what's probable. Through blood, sweat, and tears, I am unstoppable. Class of 2025, congratulations, and keep being unstoppable. Thank you, guys.